Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and today I'm bringing you a reading for the month of Nisan, the New Year of the Kings. Now we're answering the question today, what is the sovereignty that's coming to you in this month of Nisan? Are you going to be a royal of some kind? Are you going to grasp your own sovereignty? Are you going to give it up for the Pharaoh? Are you going to give it up like the Pharaoh? Are you going to find some way to wrestle with your connection with the sovereign in the heavens? So to that end, we're going to be doing a Hebrunes reading. I'm going to do a full spread reading, and then we're going to pull out a card deck as well and get some further clarification. Maybe we'll start with pulling the deck so we know what direction we're going to be looking at. We're going to just do one reading today, so it's for the whole month of Nisan for anyone who is watching this. And our deck that we've got to work with today is the Steampunk Tarot. Interesting. All right, I'll go grab that and I'll be right back. All right, I was able to grab a Steampunk Tarot here and move this bowl off to the side, and we'll stir up some Hebrunes and throw them all down, and then we'll do the reading. The way we do these kind of readings is we toss all of the Hebrunes down, and then we pull out every one that is face down in the reading and read what is remaining. I like to leave the blank because it's always curious to see where it shows up. All right, I'm going to pull these cards and set them off to the side. And we'll zoom in a bit to see what we're working with today. So I'll pull up each letter in turn so that we can see what is laid down here for us. The first letter that I'm seeing in the very highest position is Tzadi. It's in the far upper right corner. And Tzadi is the letter that represents justice. It's the first letter of the word tzedek, which means justice, and tzaddik, which means righteous person. And you can see it looks a little bit like a nun bent over with a yud on its back. And so the topmost part of our reading says that justice is here. And justice is this combination of humility with divinity at our back. It's about looking for righteousness in the world. The word Said also starts with tzadi, and it means hunting. So looking for those sparks of the divine wherever we might find them in the world. It's the foundation of thought in the book of creation, the Sefer Yetzirah, and it has this connotation of an ultimate manifestation of gestation. It is the number 90 in Gematria, so 9 being the 9 months of pregnancy, times 10 being this ultimate manifestation. And 90 is the number of years old that Sarah was when Yitzhak was born, the promised child. She was quite elderly, and so she laughed when he was born. But it has this connotation of righteousness that can come through the birth of any child, and I guess in the form of any gestation that can come to justice or righteousness. It's the letter that's affiliated with the month of Shvat, which is earlier in the year, back in the winter, that holds within it the new year of the trees. And it's connected to the tribe of Asher. Asher, who is possibly named after the Asherah, the divine feminine, who dwells within the trees. So we have this combination of justice and divine femininity, growth in the darkest winter times, growth of gestation within the feminine, bringing forth something that brings joy in the world with that number 90. And that's very high in our reading. So it's saying this is the most thing that's up right now. And This month of Nisan is sometimes affiliated with joy. The month of Adar 1 and Adar 2, in this case of the leap year we had this year, has this pregnant month, which tells us to increase in joy. And that increasing in joy brings us into the new year, the month of Nisan, which is the lunar new year and the new year of the kings. Below that, on our reading, we have the letter Tav. Tav is the final letter of the alphabet. And this letter represents an ending, something coming to completion. And it is that letter that is like a stamp or a seal or the signature of the divine on all of creation. It's related to sovereignty and slavery. So that continuum from slavery all the way through to sovereignty. And we get to exist somewhere upon it. It's interesting because this is the month where we celebrate liberation from slavery. We're historically, this month, we are in Egypt. We have been oppressed for 400 years. And now we are being liberated through the acts of the divine in the form of Moses coming to help the people being liberated. Tav is the number 400 in Gematria, so it's the completion of that slavery. That 400 years of slavery. We also had another magical event this month that came at the new moon. In North America, we had the eclipse of the sun by the new moon of Nisan. And the new moon of Nisan brought in this amazing eclipse that went across North America. And that eclipse exists only because the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, and the sun is 400 times farther away than the moon, and the Tav represents the moon in the sky. So we have all these 400s showing up here. Tav being 400, Tav being the moon being 400 times smaller than the sun being 400 times farther away, and 400 years of slavery. So the sovereign being possibly the sun and the moon eclipsing it in this magical fashion that it completely blots out the sun for just a moment, is all coming together in this one letter, the letter Tav, which represents this ultimate manifestation of a completion of the slavery as we move into liberation. So there's justice, there is sovereignty, and the finishing of slavery here in this reading about Nisan. As we circle down to the next letter in the reading, we have the letter Gimel here in this area. And the letter Gimel is that which represents a foot or a camel walking forward. And it is, you can see that it's turned upside down in our reading slightly. And it usually looks like this. The Gimel is the letter that rules over the planet Jupiter in the sky. And the word for Jupiter in Hebrew is tzedek, justice. So here we are again with the justice and this running toward justice. Gimel is about walking forward, but in a lot of cases it's about running forward. It's not just about a casual stroll. It's about choosing to take off swiftly toward something. And it's reversed down low in our reading, so there may be some fear about running. There may be some fear about going forward because it's so low and because it's upside down. It is the binary transformation of peace and evil, peace being shalom, meaning wholeness, and evil, which is something being broken, maybe not so whole. So we have really low in our reading a fear about stepping forward toward justice, a fear about making that first step and walking toward something that is more whole. Maybe we're used to being broken, and that would make sense. After 400 years of slavery, why would we know how to even walk away from it? It's here asking that question. And the answer maybe is coming in the form of the letter Kuf. Next to the Gimel here is the letter Kuf. And the Kuf is the letter that begins the word Kadosh. Kadosh meaning holiness or sacredness. There's something here that gives us the power to step forward. And it is that sacredness. And holiness and sacredness are all lofty terms. The actual meaning of the word kadosh is more along the lines of that which is dedicated to service for divinity. So anything can be kadosh, any action or object, if it is dedicated for service to the divine. And anything that has been dedicated to divinity can also be used for mundane purposes, and that status of kadosh gets removed at that point. So this being way down low on the reading makes me wonder if the sacredness has not been enacted yet, that we have these things that are not yet kadosh, that we have actions or objects that we have not yet dedicated to divinity. Kuf is also the first letter of the word kof, which means monkey. And so there's this connotation of the monkey mind, or the monkey who is misbehaving, maybe our monkey self that is very base and concerned with its own self rather than being concerned with the matters of divinity. And Kuf is the number 100 in Gematria, so it's what follows the Tzadi in Aleph Bet. So the number 100 has this manifestation of the divine emanations of God, the 10 Sephirot, times the 10 utterances of God, the 10 commandments, multiplied together to give us some form of sacredness, some form of dedication or designation for service to divinity. Kuf is also the first letter of the word klipa. Klipa, those shells or shards of broken vessel that once held the divine sparks within them and maybe are shattered in the world that cause some sort of discomfort and make it challenging for us to exist in the world. And this is very low on the reading, as I said, so it makes me wonder if there's something that hasn't been designated for service, something that is causing irritation or difficulty. Kuf is the letter that corresponds to the foundation of sleep in the Sefer Yetzirah. And maybe there's been some challenges with sleep right now in your life. To the left of the Kuf, we have the Ein Sof. And the Ein Sof is the blank, and it is the endlessness and the boundlessness of the eternal, that which was before and will exist after everything. And it's a substrate, again, onto which all these letters are carved. And it is, in this reading, also the substrate. It's the very lowest thing on the reading, which indicates that this is the foundation. This is what is supporting us during this month of Nisan. Nisan being the first month of the lunar calendar in Hebrew, in Judaism, and the first month of spring. So we have this boundlessness, this endlessness, the tohu vavohu, the void that existed before all things began, underpinning the entirety of the month of Nisan right here in this reading, as well as in, reality. The eternal exists here and supports us through all of the things that we are encountering. I'm going to scoop all the way around and then come back up this little trail here. To the farthest left, we have the letter Kaf. And Kaf, or Chaf, is the letter that is the palm of a hand. And it's lying on its back. It looks like this normally, but it's lying like this in the reading. So the letter Kaf is that palm of the hand, or the idea of giving and receiving. It has this binary transformation in the Sefer Yetzirah of poverty and wealth. So what can we give of ourselves that won't prevent us from our wealth and make us impoverished? And what can we receive that won't necessarily make us spiritually impoverished? So we have this balance of giving and receiving. And it's the first letter of the word koach, meaning power. So there's something about giving and receiving and power. And it's the first letter of the word keter, meaning crown. So it has that sense of sovereignty along with it, the wealth of the spirit, the wealth of the divine, as well as the crown that gives us the inherent wealth that is ours just by existing within this universe. It's also seen as sometimes the hand of the Shekhinah lifting us up as we are struggling in our ways, or the hand of the Shekhinah sheltering over us. It's the letter that is affiliated with the number 20, and 20 is the number of measures high that a sukkah can be without being not kosher. So it's got this idea of sheltering over. It's also the sun in the sky. So we've got the moon over here and the sun over here on its back. Like the sun has rolled over onto its back and subjected itself to the moon like it had done in that eclipse. So there we are with the Kaf lying on its back, subjecting itself to the moon and lifting us up from beneath. And then we come up to the letter Pei, which is slightly up to the right of the Kaf here. And the Pei is also on its upside down on its head. The Pei is the letter that means mouth. So it is this mouth of the divine speaking creation into existence. And it's turned over. So maybe there's some fear that we're encountering right now about speaking what we'd like to see in the world. The Pei is also the number 80, so it has this affiliation with the 8 being the infinity loop, as well as 10 times that being this ultimate manifestation of the infinite, back down to the Ein Sof, which is that representation of the infinite. So on its head, this mouth that's upside down, maybe challenges with speaking, this challenge with communication, a challenge with saying what we'd like things to look like. And it's the binary transformation of grace and ugliness. So we have this continuum between speaking blessings into the world and speaking curses into the world. And when it's on its head like this, we are in danger of or being tempted to curse things that we don't like, rather than blessing that which we do want to see. So it's important to turn that over for ourselves, to really tap into the mouth of the divine, that communication piece that exists because it's a gift given to us to be able to speak what we'd like to see in the world and manifest it. The Pei also is a spiral, as it spirals in and spirals out. So it has this affiliation with time, spiralinear time. The word Pa'am begins with Pei. But that spiral, which is things go around in a circle, seemingly, but in fact, when we come back to the same spot, we are never actually in the same spot because we have changed and everything around us has changed. So although we've come back to the beginning of the year at this month of Nisan, we are spiraling up, ideally, and out of whatever has been challenging us. And we can do that by creating our own reality with the words of blessing that we would like to see in the world. So if we're struggling with that difficulty in communication, it's time to try to turn that Pei right side up. Just to the right of that, we have the letter Chet. And Chet is the first letter of the word Chai, meaning life. It's right here. You can see it looks a little bit like a chuppah, a marriage canopy. And so it has this affiliation with contracts and commitments. Commitments that one might make with another person, commitments that one might make with oneself, and with the divine. Chet is the first letter of the word choshek also, which means darkness. And it's the first time that the letter Chet shows up in Torah is in that word darkness, choshek. So darkness is an important factor in finding our way to the light. We can't find our way forward in light without having some dimension of contrast. So we need to know where the darkness lies, and maybe that's where we find the divine, in that dark space, in the shadow space. The Chet is the number 8 in Gematria, so right next to the 80 here, we have the 8 again, which is that infinity loop, like I said. 8 is 1 more than 7. 7 is the number of days of creation. So as the divine spoke creation into existence with the Pei, with the mouth, when that 7 comes to an end, what's next? 8. 8 is the infinite. So we have this infinity loop here, which is that reflection of back to the Ein Sof, back to the infinite. So we have infinity here 3 times in this reading, right in the same area. Maybe we're concerned with our understanding of the infinite or not being able to grasp it, which makes sense. It's a little challenging, but we have to come into our own power in order to grasp our sovereignty. And that brings us to the next letter, which is Zayin. And Zayin is on its back. It looks like this normally, but it's lying down. And Zayin is the letter that represents a sword or a scepter. So it's all about divine power. It's all about sovereignty and magic and completion. It's the number 7, 7 being the final day of creation. And it is affiliated with the Shekhinah, the Shabbat bride, the one who is the consort of the masculine divine. So the feminine divine here is with the Zayin. And Zayin is on its back, which is appropriate since the number 7 corresponds to the 7th day of creation, which is Shabbat, rest. So there's rest here, but there's also power. And we need to grasp onto that sword, that scepter, in order to really harness our sovereign power in this month of Kings, this month of Nisan. So, I affiliate the Zayin with the Emperor, which is the king of all kings in the tarot card. So Emperor is right here, taking a little bit of a rest right now in Shabbat as we're starting off the month. And the last letter in our reading is the Yud. The Yud is the smallest of all letters, and it has that potential for growth. It's a seed that's being planted right now, sometimes seen as a sperm as well. So the seed that is here, it's also the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He, this contraction of all the verbs of beingness, was, is, and will be, which is the name becoming, which is the divine name. So this seed is here, planted in the springtime, in order for us to start growing a new thing, a new year, a new kingdom, perhaps, our new sovereignty, really grasping a hold of that. And it's really a beautiful thing with all of this power and justice and sovereignty and the moon and the sun and the infinite here 3 times, and the holiness, the kadosh, as well. And we have, like I said, I was going to pull out a card from the Steampunk Tarot, and I'm going to do that right now. We'll see what cards want to come out today. If there's more than one, I don't know, but we're going to shuffle them up and see what wants to give us a little additional message. There's one flipped right over, and let's see if there's any more or if that's it for today. That might be sufficient. Oh, there goes one over there. Okay, 2 cards. Okay, our first card that came out of the reading, I want to say the first lady here, because the card is the Lady of Airships. And air, as you may know, is the suit of swords in tarot. This is what Our Lady looks like. She's got a little bit of a top hat. She's flying on her airship and wearing her red and black corset with her bright red hair. She has the focus and clarity to get things done efficiently, so she may often lead the attack herself. She has a sense of justice and truth, and when she goes to the heart of the matter, you can be sure it will be very precise. With her beside you, you have the courage to speak your truth, to have the strength of your convictions, and to see the heart in things. So I just love that here. We've got justice and we've got speaking our truth again. She is honest and has integrity and focus. She's someone who is very direct and outspoken and brilliant in her ability to discern. So Our Lady of Airships is one card that is giving us additional clarity here, saying it is important to seek justice and speak the truth as we move forward into this month. And then the other card that came out is the Solarium which is card number 19, representing the sun. So again, we had the sun down here and the moon up here, and we had this eclipse that just happened at the very first day of Nisan. The solarium is this radiant reconciler of conflict and sorrow. While the sun shines, you can bathe in optimism, raise your spirits, and revel in physical pleasure. The warmth of energetic enthusiasm buoys you up with its solar power. The solarium brings joy, health, and energy to all, a gift that is simple and direct. Friendships, relationships, and plans flourish, and fortunes are restored. Here you can be carefree and open, playing without fear of compromise. Innocence and simplicity enable you to be true to yourself. When you allow yourself to experience uncomplicated enjoyment, the path can become clear and open before you. A sense of gratitude for all good things is the basis of radiant health. So I love this, that you have the sun here, the sun being this yes card, that although the sun was obscured for a moment there, this ability to grasp onto joy and health and energy is here coming in for the month of Nisan. So just as an overview of what I'm seeing here, justice is up, both in the Lady of Airships and the Tzadi. This completion of whatever has come, the moon in the sky, the Tav being that 400 that represents the 400 years of slavery coming to an end. Gimel, maybe this fear about stepping forward after having been enslaved for so long, but also reflecting the planet Jupiter and justice again. The Kuf, which represents holiness and sacredness, and also the monkey down here near the bottom, sort of supporting our reading, along with the Ein Sof, which is that infinite, that substrate, the presence of the divine that is here underneath it all. Our Kaf, which is the sun in the sky, both down here and up here, and the Pei, that's speaking into existence what we would like to see, coming through with the Lady of Airships. Chet, meaning life and darkness, the contracts and commitments that we make with each other and with the divine, and Zayin, the sword or scepter that belongs to the sovereign, planting a new seed this month as we step into the new year of Nisan. And this is the reading that we have for this moment. I hope that you found it useful. I'll look forward to seeing you here next time.